This video is about the liar paradox and my attempt to solve it through a lived experience of the paradox. This statement is false. If it's false, then it's true that it's false. So is it both true and false, neither true nor false, or something else? Other formulations of it include the next statement is false, the previous statement is true, and I am lying. Philosophers have been perplexed by the liar paradox for centuries, and it has actually led them to question the nature of truth itself. So it's a really important paradox, and many have tried to solve it, but without widespread consensus among most philosophers that it has been solved. A lived approach to a philosophical issue is known as a phenomenological approach. And such approach to the liar paradox, first of all, must acknowledge that all sentences, statements, propositions come from a being or entity, thinking them, proposing them, stating them, writing them, or even programming them. Now that might sound obvious, but there are plenty of philosophers who argue for timeless, eternal, abstract, independent propositions, not relying on a being proposing them. However, the burden of proof is really on them to show such propositions exist, because in the world we can't come up with any statements or propositions that are independent like that. Of course, there are robots and computers, and they come up with propositions beyond our initial programming of them. However, robots and computers, even though appearing to instantaneously come up with propositions and formulas, etc., they are always combining different concepts, different objects of computation in a relational manner to be able to produce the final proposition. And they cannot do so if time is stopped. They do so through time, the different objects coming together for the final proposition. Also, two entities or beings on the other side of the world may come up with the exact same proposition at the exact same time, potentially expressed even in a different language from each other. And those propositions have meaning and they exist, but still it's two entities coming up with the proposition through time. It's really just coincidence and synchronicity. So, the liar paradox, this statement is false, is expressed from an entity through time. This statement is. We don't have a truth claim yet. When we get to this statement is false, we may have a truth claim, or we may continue with the statement and say this statement is false in a particular context when expressed by a particular being and has more than 3 words in it and is expressed in English. That is an example of a statement with multiple truth claims within it, self-referring to the propositions already spoken as it progresses, referring to previous propositions spoken within the statement. Contrary to what many philosophers argue that statements cannot self-refer. Now you may accept that or not accept that. However, the liar paradox is a single statement of meaning about the whole of itself. Can it self-refer? Well, let's accept that the statement finishes at false. We have a completed statement. Once we have the completed statement, this statement is false. We have a meaning to the whole of the statement that it is self-referring. As outsiders, we can get excited and now comment on the coherence or incoherence of it. But for the statement itself, or we can say for the entity that's expressing the statement, either way, it can no longer comment upon the truth value within it, because at the very moment the statement is finished, that is when a meaning is there for the whole statement. At that very time that it is finished and the meaning occurs, the statement itself is finished. There is no more room for it to insert a truth claim within it. This statement hasn't been decided when it will end yet. False, it has ended, it is complete, there is a meaning referring to itself. There is no room for anything further of a truth claim to be put within it. If you don't agree or that doesn't make sense, a more explicitly lived version of the liar paradox is I am lying. Now, sometimes people say I am lying referring to a previous lie, or that they're about to say a lie, but that's just really bad grammar. When we say I am lying, we say it through time, and we may get to I am and then have a seizure and collapse and not get to express I am lying. Or, as we are saying it, we may decide midway through that we want to continue the statement to say I am lying about such and such, or in such and such context, and other kinds of things. Even if we're determined at the start to finish with I am lying, still there is the potential that we will continue to say other things. So at best, this statement is false and I am lying is only really a plan to state something, or a prediction to. This statement will predict such and such. I plan to lie about such and such. We haven't lied yet. I haven't lied yet. I am lying. We stop there. At only the point of stopping is there a completed statement. Only upon there being a completed statement of meaning, in this case about the whole of itself and the entity expressing it, only at that time that it stopped is it complete in its meaning about itself. There is no longer any room to express the truth meaning within it. As I say it, I don't even know yet, no matter what I plan to say, when it will finish. When it is finished and there is a complete meaning, only then can a truth claim be put in it, but I've already finished what I'm saying. I haven't lied yet. And the liar paradox seems logically incoherent, and we should move on to another paradox, of which there are many. Other philosophers have said isolated things that I have mentioned, such as that there are different levels of language going on there, and that there is an element of time and an element of experience. Strawson said something like that. I came across a paper from a fellow named P.L. Olcott, who mentioned, like I do, I came across it just recently, that a statement is referring to a truth value that can no longer be mentioned because it's finished. And I've been coming up with this argument for many years and stopped and started with it. And I've never read anything explicitly like it in the literature that starts with an entity expressing it, and it's a lived experience all the way through. The lived entity is expressing it through time, and it cannot make the truth claim within itself or within its own statement, because at the point it ends, that is when the meaning is known. So a truth claim can't be made about the whole of itself, because it has ended at that point. I'm sorry to repeat myself too much. I just wanted to be clear, and I'm a little bit tired. I've made this video several times now, and it's after midnight, trying to get it right. If you agree or disagree or want to say anything more, you're most welcome to say it below in the comments. Please do so in a polite, gentleman scholar way, because we are all philosophers that love the truth. And if I'm wrong, I want to know now rather than in a few years' time. Thank you.